What up, fam? It's your boy, Boy 2024, streaming to you live. Yeah, I know this is a topic that it's such a niche topic, such a niche of a niche that only a tiny fraction of my audience will even know what the hell I'm talking about, but that's just par for the course. Are you new to the channel or something? Don't you know I enjoy having conversations with myself or about topics that only I would know, you know, what the hell I'm talking about? I want to talk about the Modretro Chromatic today, and oh my god, is that a dent? Is that a dent in my box? Yeah, Modretro, you need to do better. You need to do better. I've heard the same thing about Atari, actually. When you buy products off Atari's website, they always ship you boxes that are all beat up and, you know, bent to hell. And I'm like, yo, I mean, I'm ordering from you directly. And usually it's like crazy collectors like myself who would want to keep it in the box, or who might want to, you know, whatever, resell it or something. You know, you really want to be careful with the shipping. You don't want to cheap out on the, and Modretro, I don't know. You need to do better. I opened it and I played with it because I didn't want to wait, and this is a game that routinely is sold out, so I was just happy to, you know, that they got a restock. I was happy to get a copy. So I kind of, and I don't intend to resell it. I'm not a scalper. I don't intend to flip this anyway. You know, I actually wanted to play the game. So I was just happy to have it, period. So I made that call. I was like, you know what? I don't love it. I don't love that there's like a freaking dent in the box. Like how did that even happen? This arrived to my crib in like a bigger package, so I don't know how this got a dent in the first place. But anyway, enough complaining about that. Yeah, I didn't return it. I didn't, you know, try to do anything about it. I just played the game. But yeah, I love the Modretro Chromatic. This is a question I get asked sometimes. As far as like that niche audience, people who are into these new Game Boy systems, such as the Chromatic. So you basically have these two options, right? There's people that ask me like, okay, I know you love the Modretro Chromatic, but there's another like new Game Boy or Game Boy clone system, the Analogue Pocket. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, let me go into that. Let me go into that because I haven't talked about Analogue, that company, on this channel yet. I do want to say a few things about them because they've been around for a bit, and they've made a couple of, I believe the term is clone console, if I'm saying that right. They've made a couple of those. I definitely am interested in the Analogue Pocket. They also did one for the Super Nintendo, the Analogue the Analogue NT was the NES. Yeah, they did a Super NT for the Super Nintendo. Anyway, they've done a bunch of these. And more recently, I'm looking forward to the future because Palmer Luckey already basically said he's kind of done. He's done what he wanted to do with the Game Boy Color system, the Chromatic. I don't think he intends to do a Game Boy Advance-like system. He's already talking about their next project, and it's supposed to ship sometime this year, I think, in 2026. But they are talking about an N64, and they're calling it the M64. Just to be cheeky, because they're Modretro, so their N64 is the M64. It's supposed to come out sometime this year. It'll be like a new N64 that can connect to the, you know, modern TVs with HDMI, all that stuff. Playing your games in crystal clear, you know, HD quality with great sound. So I'm looking forward to that. I might have to get that, but even then, Analogue has already released their version of that, the Analogue 3D. Which is their N64 clone console, their version of the Nintendo 64. So you already have a choice there. Which one do you want to do? As far as those two options, and again, I mean, I guess there's always that third option where you can just buy a freaking Nintendo 64, right? But then, you know, it's an old system and it can't connect to modern TVs easily. I would point you in the direction of one of those two consoles. The Analogue 3D, it's around $300, and it routinely sells out, so you have to wait for a restock. That's kind of par for the course with all these Analogue products. I'll go more into that in a second. You know, I have mixed feelings about everybody. Like, I mean, even Modretro. I love Modretro, but I have mixed feelings about all these companies. There's some things I love, some things I hate, etc. Analogue, yeah, I love what they're doing. I love what they're doing because they're not doing emulation. Again, I'm not an expert on this, but tell me if I'm wrong here. I think the buzzword, people like to talk about FPGA. We're playing games. We're not emulating them. We're actually playing them off the hardware, off the cartridge, right? So that's what the Analogue Pocket does as well. That's what the Super NT does. The Super NT, let me talk about that real quick. But yeah, as far as the N64s, I mean, either one's good. I think that the Analog 3D is a little overpriced. It's $300. I don't know, the M64 isn't out yet. I have to look at that price point. But then this is purely splitting hairs. I just like the design of the M64 better. There's already like a prototype, photo out there. I like the design of that better, so I'm looking to getting that system. But that's far on the horizon. I mean, I've got plenty to keep me busy with. I'm talking about like, maybe Christmas time this year or next Christmas. Maybe I'll look into the M64 when that's finally out. But as far as the Super Nintendo, let me talk about that for a second. So, as you guys know, I have the Superboy, Hyperkin's Superboy, and I knew about the Analog Super NT. I knew about that, and that was an option for me, as well as, once again, finding my old-ass Super Nintendo and going through hell, trying to, get that connected to either a modern TV or an upscaler or a converter or whatever. So with the Super NT... it's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's a cool product, and that actually ships with a game. I was looking up photos of that on eBay. That somehow Analog licensed or produced a game for that, the Super Turrican. So copies of Super NT, they should come with a game actually, the Super Turrican. And I mean, it's cool, but at the same time, my reaction is when you look at the price tag, when you look at those prices, it's like, yeah, it better come with a game. It better come with something, buddy. Holy shit. So Analog is, I mean, and to be fair, I feel kind of the same way about Modretro's stuff. I'll talk about them in a minute. I think all these companies are kind of overpriced for what they're doing, to be honest, because they know we're a niche market. They know that they can kind of ask for a little more from buyers who will pay that much because, if we wanted to emulate, we would have just done so already. We're that market where like, no, we want that one rare thing that actually plays off the hardware, but also works with modern hardware, modern technology, modern TVs, etc. Allows us to stream and everything. That's why I love the Modretro so much. It has that USB-C port, so I can stream live. I can stream my games like on Twitch or something if I wanted to. I couldn't do that with the Game Boy Color, or maybe I could. I would just have to jump through like 700 hoops to do so. But yeah, the Super NT, that thing routinely sells out. I mean, you're going to hear this a lot about all of Analog's products. They routinely sell out. They're always limited time releases, which is completely like controlled by the company. Like, you guys do this to yourselves. I don't know why. And Modretro is the same way. Paul Merlucky's already said like, oh yeah, like we made these chromatics and like that's it. We're done. We're not going to make, we're not going to further, reinvent the wheel. We're not gonna like, upgrade these or make more. So what's out there is out there. Nintendo's like that too, with all their freaking like the NES Mini and the Super NES Mini. I don't know. It's like this forced rarity type of thing. Like, I don't understand why they do that. Like, it doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help anyone. Like, it doesn't even make sense to me. Where it's like you have a clear market, you have a clear like buyer base, that you have these people that want to buy your product, and you're not making enough to satisfy them. So all that happens is, the rarity goes up, the price point goes up on the secondhand market. Like, these scalpers buy up all the SNES Minis, and now they're flipping up them on eBay for triple the price. The only people that benefit from that are the scalpers. The regular consumers like myself are fucked. You guys don't benefit. You guys don't get any of that extra profit. You could have made more profit if you just made more of the damn thing. You would have had more sales. You would have made more money. It doesn't make sense to me. Same thing with Analog and also Modretro. We only made so many of these. And Analog's the same way. Oh, we only made so many Super NTs and now they're gone. That's it. And it's like, well, yeah, some eBay seller. By the way, I was on eBay. The guy is selling the Super NT for like, it was like $800 or $700. Like get out of here, get out of town. Like, I'm not paying that. But somebody will. Some crazy retro collector will, and that's why the scalpers can charge that much. And so they are the only ones that benefit from the stupid business model. Analog doesn't profit from it. They don't profit from this shit. Make more of your product. Like, make more of the Analog Pocket, make more of the Analog 3D, and you'll make more money. It's that simple. And then you'll satisfy more customers. More people will be happy because more people will be able to buy the product they want to buy for MSRP. Yeah. So that's my only dig against Analog in general is like, yeah, like, sure, like do I want an Analog Pocket? Well, at this point I don't, because I made my choice. I got my Modretro Chromatic, but I was between the two, and the Analog Pocket routinely sells out. it's more expensive. It is more expensive. It's like over $200. It's like $220 MSRP, and then you have to pay shipping, which I think is like $30 or maybe even more. This little guy was like just under 200, and again, in my case, I didn't buy the console from Modretro. I actually found this in the wild at a GameStop, so I didn't have to pay for shipping or nothing. I just paid the straight up MSRP. It came with a game. I don't think the Analogue Pocket comes with a game. And again, if you're charging that much money for a system, man, you gotta throw in like a Tetris or whatever, and like this came with Tetris, okay? So there you go. And then you know, frickin' Chromatic games sell for usually $35 or so. So you're getting a $35. Well, it's also exclusive. The Tetris game was exclusive to that bundle with the Chromatic. So I actually would recommend the Chromatic over the Analogue Pocket. For that reason alone, I mean, you're getting a $35 game for free, and you're also paying less in general just compared to the Analogue Pocket itself. But there are pros and cons to both. There are. I'm gonna go over them. But yeah, the Analogue Pocket, it is very cool. Don't get me wrong. It's a premium device. All these devices that the Analogue puts out there, like the Analogue 3D, they're always premium, you know, devices, and they're priced that way too. That's why the Analogue 3D is like $300 MSRP, and then the scalpers who buy it up are going to flip it for twice the price. So they're going to make $600. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's a very, you know, high quality, powerful device. It can connect to anything. It can play anything. You know, it's crystal clear picture and sound. I mean, so is the Chromatic, to be fair. And let me reiterate, this is something that Palmer Luckey said that I like, where he said, you know, how do I put this? He said, I wanted to make the Game Boy Color that you remember, not the one that actually exists, because, you know, we all have like those rose-tinted glasses. We all have like a memory of like playing, say, Ocarina of Time or something. But then when you go back, like the picture quality isn't quite as good as you remember it. The sound quality isn't quite as good as you remember it. That type of thing, you know what I'm saying? But like with this, no. The sound is improved. The picture quality is better than ever. It has a freaking backlight. I can only assume the Analogue Pocket has a backlight. But yeah, that's my thing with buying. So the third option in the case of the Game Boy is, yes, you could get a Game Boy Color off of eBay, like the actual Game Boy Color. But even that, I mean, that shit's still expensive. Like if you want one that works, you know, in good quality, in good condition, I think it'll set you back like $165. And then again, you're not getting any games with it. You're just getting the console. The other thing is, I don't think this is a concern. In fact, let me put this to rest right now because I think I can. But my concern was with Modretro, they're making all these quote unquote Chromatic games, actually, you know, aka brand new Game Boy Color games, and I'm like, obviously they work on my Chromatic. I've been playing them. Would these work on an actual Game Boy Color? They should because it works the other way around. All Game Boy Color games work on Chromatic. And what does it say? Yep, GBC compatible. So it should work. It should work. I know that a lot of these don't work on my Super Game Boy, but that's fair because Super Game Boy, it's just Game Boy on Super Nintendo with little bonus features. That's yeah. I don't know. I have a couple. Okay, let me list a couple gripes I have with the Chromatic. So this, again, I'm paying so much for this device. I'm paying close to $200. And I understand that it's a perfect recreation of this Game Boy Color. I love the form factor, etc., etc. But you would think that, wouldn't it be possible to have the slot also be able to play Game Boy Advance games, for example? It's kind of limiting. I still can't play Game Boy Advance games at this point. Like with the Super Game Boy, I was limited to only original Game Boy titles. I couldn't play Game Boy Color only games. And now I can play a little bit more, but I can't play Game Boy Advance still. That's a little annoying. The other thing that's annoying, I still break out my Super Game Boy now and again because games, in fact, such as Hermano is an example. It is a game that plays on original Game Boy, and in fact, when you pop it into Super Game Boy, it has those features. It has like that unique border. I'm sure there must be a way. There's still times where I'll pop it into my Super Game Boy over the Chromatic even, because the Chromatic, at the end of the day, it's just a Game Boy Color. It doesn't have those Super Game Boy features. I'm sure there must have been a way to program that into this thing. it must have been possible. And again, paying that $200 price point, I would want everything here. I would want Super Game Boy in addition to Game Boy, in addition to Game Boy Color, and maybe even throw in Game Boy Advance unless that's like truly impossible. But Analogue Pocket did it. You know what I'm saying? Analogue Pocket is shaped just like this, and it can play Game Boy Advance games. So what the fuck? What the hell? Yeah, I don't know. But some positives. Not complain. So I don't have a pocket, analog pocket, but I've been watching this British YouTuber, Retro Break, I think is his name. He's been reviewing the analog pockets, a couple of them, and so his findings were interesting. He actually had a couple valid complaints, and so I'm kind of happy with my choice here. But one thing he didn't like is a lot of these things are very subtle, like subtle differences. Again, like neither system is bad. I'm not saying that in any regard. I'm just comparing the two, what I like better and why. So for example, you want to know when the system is on. You got that slide, that you heard that click just now, right? You heard that click. So the pocket, it's a very subtle button. You don't slide anything. It's like more of a button. Same thing with the volume. The volume is on the side of the pocket. It's like these two little tiny buttons you have to hit with like the edge of your nail. I like the slide wheel. Again, the Game Boy Pocket had that very good slide wheel, the very intense sound. You could go up and down very easily. Very intense sound. I want to know when I'm adjusting the sound. He was also complaining about the buttons, not the buttons, but the D-pad. He said the D-pad wasn't very good on the Pocket, and with this, like the D-pad is fantastic. It's one of the best D-pads I've ever felt. I also have to compliment the buttons. You hear that clack? Like you want to know that these buttons are working. You want to hear that response, that clack when you press and input it. You know what I'm saying? Like you know the difference late in day. Like there's always those times where someone will say like, oh well, just buy like the third party controller, buy like the cheaper option, buy we have the joystick at home, we have a Super Nintendo controller at home, and you bought this like shitty third party controller. The D-pad doesn't work. The buttons are like sticky. The buttons don't like press all the way. It's hard to get it across in a video. You just know a good controller. You know the feel of it. You know the feel of a good button. You know the feel of a good D-pad. And when you buy something cheap and shitty, you get what you pay for, and something is wrong right away. You know something is wrong. But nothing is wrong with this. This is perfect. This is a dream. This plays like a dream. I love it. The other thing he was talking about with the Pocket. So again, it plays the oh yeah, let me mention that again. So the Pocket the Chromatic has a very powerful backlight. I was actually in my room playing Hermano and like in the dark, and this thing lit up, man. Like you can't really tell in a brightly lit setting, but this backlight is so good. And that was something you don't have on the Game Boy Color or even the original model Game Boy Advance. You don't get that until the SP. So that's one reason I would actually recommend this over just buying a Game Boy Color on eBay. I mean, you'll save some money in some ways buying the Game Boy Color on eBay, but honestly, you'll make it back. You'll make it back with these improved features on the Chromatic. You'll make it back with the game that you get for free, Tetris. And then just supporting this company. That's another thing I'll say real quick is Analogue. Well, I guess there is that one odd instance with the Super NT where I guess they somehow produced or licensed Super Turrican to go with the Super NT. But usually with Analogue, you buy the console, you pay out the ass for it, hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and that's it. You don't get like a game with it. They don't produce games really. With Modretro, it's interesting where you go on their website, you can buy their Chromatic, but they're also they re-release these games. They've re-released Sabrina the Teenage Witch. They've re-released Croc on Game Boy Color, Rayman on Game Boy Color, but they also make brand new games like this, Buck and the Cursed Cartridge. This is not, to my knowledge, I looked on Steam, I looked everywhere. This is just a Chromatic game, buddy. Like this is exclusive. This is a game that Modretro made for this device specifically, which is really fucking cool. There aren't games being made for the Analogue Pocket. You know what I mean? I know. Like this is such a niche of a niche. Like this is stuff that I care about personally. This isn't like I don't recommend the system or I do recommend the system because of this. Like I'm just talking about my opinions, things that appeal to me when I'm buying a console. And it's nice to know. It's nice to know, like, hey, this company literally makes games for this console. Like, that's nice to know. When you buy a freaking Steam Deck or whatever, like, yeah, the Steam Deck is cool, but it's not like, oh, this company is making games for the Steam Deck or with the Steam Deck in mind. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like, yeah, it's cool. It can play a lot of games from other consoles. So can this. This can play a lot of games from the Game Boy Color's library or the Game Boy's library, but it also has its own library at this point. I think that's really cool, and for me, it was definitely a selling point. Again, talking about price, I can't really talk about Analogue's games prices because they don't have any. Games in general in the secondhand market, you're really... you have no idea. You could be paying $10, $20, in cases like Earthbound, you could be paying hundreds of dollars. A Chrono Trigger, it's a crapshoot. And then with these games, yeah, again, I think everything's a little too expensive, even though I like Modretro. Like, I do think this is a little too expensive. I think their chromatic games, the cheapest I found was Patchy Matchy for 30, and then it only goes up. Usually it's like 35, 40. The most expensive ones I found are I think it's because of the license. When they re-released Croc and Rayman, those games are $45, okay? Again, you gotta ask yourself, Modretro, you're charging $45. Might as well be the price of a brand new game on Xbox or PS5 or whatever. You're charging $45 for a Game Boy Color game. You know, at a certain point, it feels exploitative. It feels like I'm being exploited. You know, I'm gonna pay it because I'm the crazy retro gamer, and these are new games for me. These are the new releases that I care about versus what's on PS5. But it is like, bro, it's a Game Boy Color game. But you know what? I'm gonna backtrack a little bit because I know that it costs money to license these classic games, like, again, Rayman, Croc, they're priced higher because they had to pay more money to license them or whatever. And these are always a premium product. Like I love the packaging. It comes in like this cute little box. The chromatic boxes are smaller than your average video game box. They're so much smaller, even smaller than a Switch box. And they come with a full color manual. They come with like an adorable little keychain. And another thing that I love, which is something that I always wished for the Game Boy Color, I always wished that the Game Boy Color's thing, most of the game packs actually, the cartridges for the Game Boy Color usually were that black cartridge, or they might be the clear cartridge where you can see through it. But I always wanted, if the whole gimmick is color, why doesn't every game pack have its own unique color? And so far, that's what the Chromatic has been doing. The Sabrina game pack is pink. You know, the Buck cartridge is white because it matches the Chromatic because Modretro made it. Even something like Hermano, it's glow-in-the-dark clear. I just like that it gives it some identity. You know what I'm saying? Like, every game pack has its own unique color. I love it. So you are paying for this premium product, premium packaging, etc. It's cool. Oh, let me complain about the Analogue Pocket one more time. A product that I don't own. Again, I'm just going off of a video, but he made some very valid complaints. So again, this is not an issue with the OG Game Boy Color, but with the Chromatic, you really want to, you know, like, I slid this game pack in, and you heard that, right? You heard that click. With the Analogue Pocket, the way he was doing it, he showed me in the video. Like, so you see the bottom of the cartridge where it has like the little golden part with like the little end. It's just the tip. So if this was the Pocket, you don't actually insert it all the way. And he was like kind of confused. He's like, "Oh, did it work? Like, did I insert it?" Because you don't hear that resounding. You don't hear that sound to let you know it's in. Like this is where it would be on the Pocket. It would like go in basically, you know, quarter way. It's still sticking out awkwardly. You know, I want it to be in the console. I don't want it to be sticking out awkwardly. You know what I mean? And he was saying how like it felt loose, like it felt like it was going to come out at any point when he's playing. And what's even worse is with the Pocket, and this is a catch-22 with GBA. I could go on a whole thing about GBA versus SP, which is better. They both have their strengths and weaknesses. Again, it's kind of like the Chromatic versus the Analogue Pocket. They both have their strengths and weaknesses. It really depends on what's more important to you. With the SP, yes, you got the backlight, but the thing I always hated about the SP, a lot of people like the form factor. I like the form factor of the OG GBA more because it had those wide shoulder. It was a widescreen system. It had those wide L and R buttons. The SP has these tiny fucking L and R shoulder buttons. They're like this big. They're like thimble sized. They're like pinky print sized. Your finger like barely just can do it. I always hated that. And unfortunately, because of the shape of the Analogue Pocket, it has the Game Boy Color shape, it retains the SP shoulder buttons, and you need those. You need the shoulder buttons to play Game Boy Advance games. So you need those, but they're too small, and they're right next to the cartridge. And Retro Break, he was showing it on camera. Every time he used the shoulder buttons, they're so close to the cartridge, which is already loose. He's basically knocking the cartridge loose when he's hitting those shoulder buttons. That's a huge problem. He told me, he was saying how, like, you know, some GBA games are almost unplayable on the Pocket because of that. And that sucks. That really sucks. I don't know why it's designed like that. I don't know why. Like, I don't want to do this like just the tip stuff. Like, I want to insert it all the way. I want this. Look at it. I know you can't like see the full cartridge, like the full artwork when it's inserted like that. Maybe that's the point. Maybe that's why the Pocket's like, no. We want you to see the whole thing while it's playing. But it's like, no, man, you gotta like insert it. It can't be just the tip stuff. I'm trying to keep this from getting sexual. I keep saying just the tip. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like that, actually. I don't like that at all. If I had my way, I would have the Analog Pocket have the GBA, OG GBA shoulder buttons, the wide shoulder buttons, but those would kind of awkwardly stick out. You would kind of have to change the whole form factor of the device. So that wouldn't work either. I don't know what the solution there is. Yeah, I don't know what the solution there is. I mean, the Chromatic solution was just to not be able to play Game Boy Advance games. So maybe that's the solution. Yeah, I don't know. And the Game Boy Advance, or the Analog Pocket, it's also cool because he was showing us how he's playing his game and he has all these you bring up this menu, you have all these options for like these different screen filters, these CRT filters, these different borders. Again, at that point, it's reminding me of the Super Game Boy because you could hit the L and R buttons and bring up this menu and you could change all these fucking borders and stuff and mess with the display and the picture. And that's what made the Super Game Boy so cool. This is like, again, just a clone, just emulating what the Game Boy Color does. You turn it on and that's it. There's no like hidden menu button to change the screen picture, the filters, or nothing. So that's where the Modretro I just combined them. The Modretro Pocket. That's where the Analog Pocket feels a little more premium, has some of those extra bonus features. So yeah. I mean, you got me there. Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's really what your preference is, what's more important to you, where are your priorities. Both of these systems both of them are overpriced in my opinion. Both of them have overpriced games in my opinion. Both of them have a lot of strengths and a lot of weaknesses, and it really comes down to which one is for you, which one is easier to find. Here's another thing. So I'll put it to you this way. You can go like this thing is almost always available on Modretro's website. You can pay the $200, go on the website, and buy it off of their website. Analog Pocket, it's a lot more difficult. They're almost always out of stock. You kind of have to be very watchful. You have to be very mindful of that and just keep checking back. So that's a little annoying. The other thing is, again, this very niche. This is more of a me problem. This only applies to me. But I think a lot of retro gamers will understand this. Is there's always that thrill of the hunt. You know what I mean? It means so much more to me. This is a bad example because this is a Chromatic game. But let's pretend this is Kirby's Dream Land 2. Okay, pretend this is Kirby's Dream Land 2. I know I can go on eBay right now. I can find Kirby's Dream Land 2 for about $30 or something like that, and it's guaranteed. I will find it and I will buy it, and they will ship it to my home, and hopefully it won't have a fucking dent in the front of the box. It's a guaranteed thing. But sometimes you like that hunt. Sometimes you like just walking into a game store, like a retro game store, and you don't know what they have. You don't know if they have Earthbound. You don't know if they have Croc or Rayman or whatever. And the thrill is the discovery, and you're like, oh shit, that's what happened with me with Kirby's Dream Land 2. I went into a store and I found it, and it was only $20 when usually on eBay or whatever it's like $30, and I bought it that day. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I love that unknown, that thrill-seeking factor, that I don't know, Pokemon catching factor, where you go into the grass and you don't know if that Abra is there or not, and you keep on hunting for it, and when you discover it, it's special. That in fact, I'm going to run with that comparison. It's kind of like in Pokemon, where it's like, yeah, you could hack the game, you could just hack in an Abra if you wanted to, but where's the fun in that? Isn't it more fun to search that grass over and over, and then that one time you find it, it's like, oh shit, I gotta capture it. It's fun. It's thrilling. It's fun to go into a retro game store and to find that copy of whatever, Rayman or Croc or whatever, and you're like, oh shit, I'm gonna buy it now. And you don't get that thrill with the Analog Pocket. Or with the Chromatic when you're getting off the website. But the Chromatic, it can be done. I'm holding it in my hands. You can find it in a GameStop, and you can buy it for MSRP. You can do it. You don't have to go on eBay and pay $400. I think scalpers are flipping it for $400 on eBay right now. You don't have to do that shit. You can. It's tough. It's tough. You have to find a GameStop that isn't closed, in 2026. But if you find that GameStop, you can find a Chromatic. You can buy it for MSRP, and it's special. It's fun. It's thrilling. It's like I got that rush of adrenaline and serotonin. I'm like, oh, I found a Chromatic in the wild. That's crazy. It's like I found a fucking shiny Pokemon. I got that rush, and I bought it. And it's fun. It's fun walking into that store and not knowing if they have this thing or not, and not knowing if they have games for it or not. So that's why I bought a Chromatic over an Analog Pocket. But I'm also crazy. I also paid too much for this thing. I'm also focusing on fucking Game Boy Color games in 2026 when people are playing, whatever, Silent Hill 2 remake on PS5. I should probably be playing that too. I should be playing more PS5 games since I have that system as well. But I've always, been a retro gamer at heart. I've always kind of emphasized handhelds more than anything else. That's why I love the PS Vita so much and the PSP and all that stuff. Sorry for rambling for half an hour. I hope I answered your questions. Cheapest option, yeah, just find a Game Boy Color on eBay if that's all you really want. But at that point, if you're trying to save money, you can probably play most of these games on Nintendo Switch Online or some other service, some other way. So just do that if price is all you care about. But for people, weirdos like me who like that tactile feel, that physical sensation of slapping a game cartridge into a console and turning it on, you want to go this route. You want to go either the Analogue Pocket or the Modretro Chromatic route, and then at that point, you're really splitting hairs. I gave you my pros and cons for both. You see in my hands which one I chose. I'm a Chromatic defender, but if you want to grab the Analogue Pocket, all I say is good luck and try not to pay too much money for it.